Ripple just quietly became something close to a bank. Whales are pulling XRP off exchanges at a record pace, and almost nobody is talking about the one piece of legislation that could send this token in either direction inside the next 2 weeks. I'm Tony, and this is the deepest dive we've ever done on XRP and Ripple. Every bank, every government, every central bank they're working with, and what the future could actually look like. Quick note before we start. Nothing in this video is financial advice. This is for information and education only. Do your own research before you make any investment decision. Let's start with the number everybody actually cares about. XRP is trading right around $1.06 today, down over the past week, sitting just below its 200-day moving average. Technically, that's a bearish setup, but here's the tension. The story everyone else is missing. While retail investors have been trimming their positions, whale wallets now account for 77.8% of all XRP leaving exchanges. That's a record high, up from 63% back in May. When the biggest holders pull coins off exchanges like that, it usually means they're not planning to sell anytime soon. At the same time, US spot XRP ETFs have now pulled in positive money for 4 straight months, adding up to around $285 million since April. Good news is piling up. Price isn't reacting. That gap is exactly what we're digging into today. This is the part almost nobody explains clearly, so let's break it down in plain language. Back in December of 2025, the OCC, that's the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency, the federal regulator that oversees national banks, gave Ripple conditional approval to open something called Ripple National Trust Bank. Think of a trust charter like a special badge that lets a company custody and manage digital assets under federal banking rules without becoming a full retail bank. On April 1st of this year, the OCC's final rule on national trust banks kicked in, which unlocked things like digital asset custody and stablecoin reserve management for companies holding that badge. The bigger prize is still pending, a Federal Reserve master account. Picture it like a direct line into the Fed's own payment pipes, the same pipes JP Morgan and Wells Fargo use to move money instantly. If Ripple gets that, it's a genuine structural upgrade. But here's the reality check, and I want to be really clear about this. A trust charter is not the same as a full bank license. There's no FDIC insurance here. Ripple can't take your checking or savings deposits. This is about custody and stablecoin oversight, a real regulatory win, but don't let the headline get bigger than the actual facts. Now let's talk about the single biggest swing factor for XRP and the entire crypto market this year, the Clarity Act. In plain terms, this bill would finally draw a clear line between which crypto tokens the SEC regulates and which ones the CFTC regulates. Right now that line is blurry, and it's been a headache for the whole industry. Here's the timeline. The House passed its version back in July of 2025, 294 votes to 134. The Senate Banking Committee advanced its own version on May 14th of this year, 15 votes to 9. Then it got messy. A group of Democratic senators pushed back hard on ethics language in the bill. Rules about government officials profiting off crypto while in office. President Trump signed off on revised ethics language just last week, and there's a development that changed the math entirely. On July 12th, Senator Lindsey Graham passed away, which narrowed the Republican majority to 52 seats. That means this bill now needs at least 8 Democratic votes, not 7, to clear the 60-vote threshold. The hard deadline is the first week of August, before the Senate leaves for recess. Prediction markets right now put the odds of passage this year at around 41 to 43%. If it doesn't happen by then, the next real shot is a lame duck session after the midterm elections, which pushes everything into an election year. Let's talk about who Ripple is actually working with here in the United States, because the list is bigger than most people realize. PNC Financial Services was the first major U.S. bank live on Ripple's network for cross-border payments. American Express uses Ripple's messaging system to coordinate payments. DXC Technology partnered with Ripple back in January to plug digital asset custody straight into its Hogan banking platform. And that platform alone underpins $5 trillion in deposits across 300 million accounts worldwide. That's a massive potential on-ramp. MasterCard added Ripple into its crypto payments program. Goldman Sachs is now the largest disclosed holder of XRP ETF shares, with a position worth around $153 million. And Ripple Prime, formerly known as Hidden Road, is now a clearing participant inside the DTCC's NSCC. That's the same clearinghouse that backs U.S. stock market settlement. Kraken makes it simple to actually buy and trade XRP once you've done your research. The link's in the description below. Now, let's go around the world, because this is where it gets really interesting. In Japan, SBI Holdings has been Ripple's partner since 2016, the longest relationship on this entire list. In June of this year, they officially launched Ripple's stablecoin, RLUSD, in Japan through the SBI VC trade platform. In Africa, Absa Bank signed a custody partnership with Ripple. Companies like Chipper Cash, VALR, and Yellow Card are distributing RLUSD across African markets. And a firm called Trident is building a $500 million corporate XRP treasury aimed at African cross-border liquidity. In Europe, Standard Chartered and Deutsche Bank are engaged with Ripple's technology. Aviva Investors is tokenizing funds on the XRP ledger, though it's worth noting they're doing that without actually using the XRP token itself. In the Middle East, there's a live on-demand liquidity corridor between Egypt and the UAE that's been running since December of 2024. And the UAE Central Bank is testing Ripple's technology inside its own cross-border central bank digital currency project called mBridge. And on the government side, Ripple has run central bank digital currency pilots with Palau, Montenegro, Bhutan, Colombia, and Georgia. The IMF has specifically named Ripple's technology in 3 active central bank cases. These are small countries for now, not the US, the EU, or China, but it's real, functioning infrastructure, not just talk. Here's a story from just a few weeks ago that shows exactly why this space needs a fact-check channel. SWIFT, the global bank messaging network, switched on a new blockchain ledger with 17 pilot banks. Traders immediately assumed it meant a Ripple partnership, and XRP's price jumped on the rumor. It wasn't true. SWIFT's ledger settles using tokenized bank deposits, not XRP. Ripple's only real connection is that Ripple Treasury joined the SWIFT Certified Partner Program back in April. A messaging integration, not a settlement one. This matters because Ripple has announced partnerships with over 300 institutions. But most of those only use RippleNet's messaging layer, not actual XRP settlement. Only around 47 institutions are running real on-demand liquidity in production today. The real tell, according to analysts, is whether a partner runs their own XRP ledger validator node. SBI, Alloy Networks, and Bitso do. That's real commitment. Everything else is closer to a press release. So, where could this actually go? Let's look at the real range of analyst targets, not just the loudest one on social media. On the conservative end, some analyst panels see XRP stalling around $2.49 by 2030. Standard Chartered's own digital assets lead already cut his 2026 target from $8 down to $2.80 earlier this year, one of the largest cuts across their whole crypto forecast list. On the bullish end, if Ripple's banking charter becomes fully operational, ETF inflows keep climbing, and the broader crypto market catches a tailwind from the 2028 Bitcoin halving cycle. Some models put a realistic central case between $10 and $28 by 2030. That's a wide range, and that's the honest answer. Nobody credible is calling for $100 in the next 10 years. The truth sits somewhere between quiet accumulation now and a real payoff years down the road, if the regulatory pieces fall into place. If you're looking to grow a diversified portfolio alongside your crypto positions, SoFi Active Investing will give you $25 in free stock when you open an account and fund it with $25 or more. Links in the description. Here's my closing thought for today. Jeremiah 29, verse 11 says, "For I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." Whatever this market does this week, that promise doesn't move with the price chart. One more time. Nothing in this video is financial advice. Markets are volatile, do your own research, and never invest more than you can afford to lose. If you want to track XRP and trade it yourself, Kraken's link is down in the description too. If this deep dive helped connect the dots, hit subscribe, drop a comment with what you want covered next, and I'll see you in the next one.